Good evening, everyone. Tonight we are chatting with Angie, an intuitive who bridges the gap between the spiritual and physical worlds. After a life altering medical event revealed her gifts to her, she was set on a path of self discovery. She is the author of the book The Way I See It, a medium's account of her paranormal journey, and is a proud member of War Party Paranormal. So get ready to hear the story of Angie's journey tonight on Unraveling the Darkness. Good evening, Aaron.
Good evening. I'm just looking at this little notice over here that they're having some issues streaming to the Way Out West page.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it looks like the Way Out West page isn't getting the live stream, but the
if
Unraveling Facebook and YouTube is. So,
yeah. So Gina, if you're watching, can you post something to go over to the Unraveling page to watch tonight? All right. So what's going on?
man, it's been a good week. I've been waiting for this new TV show to come out called Alien Earth.
Yeah.
It's if you can't tell, I'm like a huge Aliens fan, right?
Right.
From I think I was like 6 or 7 years old when I started watching those movies, and yeah, they started a TV show, and it's like 3 episodes in. It's getting mixed reviews, but I really like it.
What's it on?
Hulu.
Oh, we have to go
Yeah.
check it out.
So yeah, they took kind of a cool spin on it with the whole like Wayland Yutani Corp and androids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's I don't know, I'm enjoying it, man. It's good. And
Do you
seeing the alien and like or the xenomorph in like 4K is really cool. So
I might be aging myself, but do you remember the show V?
vaguely,
Yeah. See.
vaguely,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
you
pretty
aged
cool
yourself a
back in the
little.
day. Yeah. So everyone knows.
Yeah.
I don't just ask around. I'm ancient or something like that. I don't know.
I
That's
know
what you
we
guys
always get
tease
that,
me
man,
with.
during an event or an investigation. You're ancient, and all eyes go to Aaron. It's like,
Yeah. I stopped it this past weekend. I was like, oh, stop talking about Gina.
yeah, 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 and then put the brakes on. It's like, nope, we can't make fun of Miss Gina. So,
Right. Yeah. I stopped really quick. But if it was me, boy,
yep,
we were
you and me
going,
get it.
huh?
Yeah, we get it rough, man.
So busy week at work. I know you've
Yeah,
been busy. We're still slow, but it's picking up. So
yeah, yeah.
weather's
What
just
is
right. I
sound?
mean,
Oh God, weather's been beautiful.
a little bit nicer next week. Going to get in the 70s.
Yes, I was
Uh,
looking at that, and it's like high 80s, and then all of a sudden we get that drop, and it's like, yep, that's right around September. That's when it comes. I was like that time of year. So
yeah, I have a little something flying around. So if I'm swatting, that's what I'm trying to get.
Aaron's tripping tonight.
Um, we haven't talked about it because it was kind of a thing, but we have a little event this weekend. It's going to be like all paranormal people. Invited some people along the Front Range. So
Yes.
we're excited to do that and work with some. Oh, I think there's 5 teams, 4 or 5 teams coming. So yeah, it's kind of a team collab thing, and that should be a good time.
Yeah, yeah, we got a really cool guest coming in to do a little talk, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Getting to meet some teams we haven't, met before. I know you've met a few more than I have. So yeah, I'll be meeting a lot of people this weekend.
Yeah, it should be a good weekend, and it's gonna be a long one. We're doing like 11 hours. They can come and go, and yeah, it's a great event.
Yeah,
So like being able to meet other people that have the same interest.
yeah, absolutely. Just like we always say at the end of the podcast every week. We're always doing something to meet people and talk paranormal. So I love it.
Yep. Well, this week we have a great guest.
Yes, we do. Angie, let's bring
Yep.
her in. Hey,
Hi.
Angie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Doing pretty good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So we'll jump right into it.
Okay.
What had you get interested in the paranormal?
Well, I will say that when I got into the paranormal, I honestly didn't know that paranormal teams existed. I always knew I was different. I always talked to dead people. As I say in my book, always talked to dead people, but I just didn't know they were dead. I thought everybody saw them. Um, I went through a medical crisis that forced me to make some big adjustments in my life, not only just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. And during that time, I was really struggling with information that was coming to me from a place that I didn't know where it was coming from. So I was doing some research and, kind of scrolling through social medias, and I came across an advertisement for an event that War Party Paranormal was hosting. And I thought, that could be fun. I was really going looking for answers, again, not knowing that paranormal teams existed and there was haunted events, and I knew nothing about that. So I went to an event and met a few of the people that were members of War Party. The event did not go the way that I wanted it to go because I was seriously looking for answers about the crisis that I was in spiritually and emotionally. So that didn't work out. I continued my search. Scrolling through social medias again, I see that War Party was looking for new paranormal investigators. And I thought, I could maybe do that. Still not knowing what that was, by the way. But I thought if anybody would understand or kind of help me reconcile all the things that I was going through, certainly it would be these people. So I sent in my request for an interview and to try and join the team. Everybody on the team knows that I lied, totally fluffed my resume, told them that I had all this experience, totally lied. I had no idea what I was doing, didn't know diddly squat about anything other than dead people are talking to me and I don't know what to do with that information. Or I was losing my mind. Really wasn't sure which one it was. So I went to the interview, did not go well. They kind of called me out on my BS. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that claim to be psychic mediums that aren't. And so they kind of went into it that I was just another person with claims that were probably a load of crap, to be quite honest. And so they were not going to take me at face value, not to even mention my fluffed up resume that I sent. So they accepted me anyway and invited me to join the team on a probationary period. I had 90 days. Okay, that should be certainly enough time for me to prove to myself that I was crazy, because that was my goal. My goal was, when I joined the paranormal team, was to prove that everything that I was experiencing, everything that I knew that I shouldn't know, the dead people that were talking to me, it had far more to do with a lapse in mental capacity than anything else. So I went in there with hoping that they would prove that to me so that I could just go to the doctor, take a pill, and never have to deal with this again.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, and John, who's one of the founders of War Party Paranormal, and in my book, I call him a jerk because he was a jerk and he knows he was a jerk. And he thinks it's funny that I called him a jerk in the book. He read the book. John and I love John and really give John a lot of credit for putting me through a test that I didn't know that I needed to take for myself. And he pushed me in his way to trust myself and to accept myself. So at some point, because he was such a jerk, I decided that my motives changed from proving myself wrong to proving him wrong, that I wasn't a charlatan, that I wasn't a fake, that I wasn't here just trying to pick up on social, cues. And so somewhere around along the line, I really wanted him to be proud of me, I guess, and for him to accept me in a way that I didn't feel like most of society would accept me. You hide because nobody wants to be the weird one, so that's kind of how I got into the paranormal. And I'm thankful to War Party till the end of time, because they put me in some very, very difficult positions where they already knew what was going on. They already knew the scenarios. They put me in situations where I had to trust myself. And by doing that, I opened up a whole new part of myself that I had been hiding from since those weird teenage years, when you don't want to talk to dead people and they don't exist. And please let me just be normal like everybody else.
Mhm.
So, medical trauma, war really wanted to be crazy. I figured lack of oxygen, something's going on. And then that's kind of how I found myself into the paranormal investigation world. And it allowed me, I've said it already probably 3 times. It allowed me to be me without fear of judgment, without hesitation, without being afraid to sound totally wackadoodle. Because sometimes, especially as a psychic medium, and you go into a place, and when I do investigations, specifically at a residential, I go in completely blind. I, a lot of times, didn't even know the address. They picked me up and drove me there. I don't want to know anything. And I walk through the house and tell them what's going on. And sometimes some really crazy stuff comes through my brain and out my mouth. And I had to trust that I wasn't wrong and didn't sound crazy. And time again, I proved myself until I got really comfortable with just saying whatever. I stopped editing myself. And it's when you don't edit yourself when the real truth happens.
Yeah, we
I
were
think
just
shut
talking
yourself
about that
down.
last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're going down the same route.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes. So
with
that,
Gina
I'm
is
sorry.
our sensitive or medium. She doesn't consider herself that, but we have a local place we go to, and it's kind of the same thing. A lot of times I just see this look on her face where she's like, and it's like, just say it and let's see where it goes and see what happens.
Yep.
Right.
And she's getting a little more free with that type stuff and throwing it out there, and then we get all the confirmation stuff going on, be it us
Exactly.
or equipment or something. And yeah, you just, and I'm sure it's hard um w- when you're starting out or starting with a new team to trust that they're not going to think that you're crazy,
Yep.
or that they can trust what you're saying.
Yep. It's kind of a trial
Absolutely.
by fire thing. You got to
Yeah.
just get in and do your thing, put your skills out there, your abilities, and let it speak for itself. I was going to say it's just like what we were talking about last week with the Estes sessions.
Mm.
It's the same type of thing. You got the blindfold on, and you're just, you're like, what the hell am I saying? This doesn't even make sense. And you take those headphones off, and everyone's like, dude, that was amazing. Like, there was a full conversation. I'm like, okay, I was just, blurting out whatever I heard, or, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yep,
And
it
it is
comes
hard
together.
because you really do say some things that really, without any kind of context, sound really, really
Yeah.
stupid, really crazy, really like I'm just pulling words out of my rear end. And then, but when it all ties in together, and after I've given them what I had, now you guys go in and verify,
Right.
confirm. And I was tested for, I hate to say it, for multiple years that I was with War Party, until the first time that they actually introduced me to a group as the team psychic medium. And I was like, oh, finally.
I'm finally there.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. And then, John wound up calling me. His term for me was I was the paranormal bloodhound. He said, if something's going on, she's going to find it.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what I did. And, and again, I have said some of the craziest things, but the Estes method, that's about as pure as you can kind of get, where you're not influenced by anything. You're trying to keep up. So you don't
Mhm.
even have time to think if you're saying something wacky.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Delco method, if you haven't tried that one, that amps it up a little bit.
Is that the one with the red lights and the
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
tried that one yet.
Amps it up.
I'll
Yeah.
have to
Amps it up a
look into
notch.
that one. So let's go from investigator to medium.
Okay.
And how far back is that going to go? It sounds like you said into your teens with that, or is that even further?
Further back, I think I've always talked to spirit energy. Again, I said I referred to, I've always talked to dead people. When I was younger, when I was little, I didn't know that they were dead. Again, they were just my friends. I was never scared. I was never intimidated. They were just people that I talked to. And my mom, and we talked to her a little bit, she would say that I would have full conversations, and they weren't just, imaginary friends. These were people that I saw. They were there. I didn't know that everybody else didn't see them.
Mhm.
I didn't know that everybody didn't have this level of probably protection that I had. Again, I was never scared. And I've said before, when I was really young, when I would see a new spirit, they always came to me as leprechauns at first
Oh,
so that I wasn't afraid.
hmm.
When I was really young,
Interesting.
I'd see these
Yeah.
little leprechauns, and then they kind of eventually, once I got used to them, they would just be
Kind
part
of
of my
show their
group.
true form. Yeah.
Yeah, part of my group.
So it's full blown conversations. It's not snippets. They're not cutting in and out. There's someone there talking to you, and you're talking back.
Absolutely. And
Interesting.
even now, it's kind of the same way. I'll hear, and I have a difficult time putting a label on myself because I get information. Sometimes I hear it, sometimes I see it, sometimes it's symbolism, sometimes I get whole words, sometimes I get visions of whole stories, sometimes I get whole stories. So for me, sometimes I don't know if I saw it, heard it, or felt it
Mm.
because it affects me the same way. But yeah, for the most part, sometimes they'll show me quick images that I have to then ask for more, acknowledge, and then ask for more. Other times I'll get whole stories, whole situations, graphic details about what happened.
Wow.
And especially if I'm on a paranormal investigation, that's where the graphic details come in, about how somebody passed or what happened. Um, so yeah, I can see, because
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm truly seeing it, hearing it, or feeling it, but I usually will get a visceral response, especially if I'm looking into how somebody passed. I'll know because of where it affects me on my body.
Mm.
And then I'll also get auditory or visual clues to kind of fill in the spaces. But yeah, I guess the short answer to your question is yeah, I get whole scenarios a
Wow.
lot of times.
What would be one of the most craziest that you've had? Like, if you're investigating these places, obviously, like, there's been some brutal deaths or some very traumatic, but there's got to be one that's like just been a little, a little more weird or something.
I would say that one of the craziest experiences I ever had was not on a paranormal investigation. It was actually before I joined the team when I was trying to figure out if I was crazy or not. I went to this woman who helped you with lucid dreaming, and she took you in, kind of got you in a meditative state, walk down the stairs, go into your dream, and all of this. And I had a hard time with it. I kept getting visions that I knew weren't my dream. This had nothing to do with me. And it was so graphic, and I knew who it was. And I was feeling a lot of the stuff, not from the person who was hurt, but from the, turns out, mother of this boy who was injured. And I was looking around because there was like 9 or 10 of us in this group. And I'm looking around and I'm trying to figure out whose dream this was. And I kept thinking, it's that woman over there by the door. I know it's hers. I know it's hers. So as she's going around and everybody's talking about what they did in the dream and how they conquered the fear of the dream that was down there, I'm the last person. By the time she gets to me, I busted out crying and said, it wasn't my dream. I don't want to get into somebody else's business, but this is what I saw. And I saw this young boy who was, I think he was 21, 22 is how I saw him. And he had something on his throat. He couldn't talk. And it just went on. And the girl next to me said, oh, I think that was my ex-boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't yours. It was hers. It was her son who was still on a trach, who was still recovering. And I saw all of this. I am sobbing and I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I totally invaded her privacy. She didn't bring this dream up while we were all talking, but yet I blurted it all out like it was mine. And then after the classes, people filed out. I went to the girl who was hosting this event and I said, I don't know what to do. I think I'm going crazy. And, recounted a couple of other things that had happened. And she did her best to kind of calm me down, but I was still very shaky about that. And then the mother came to me and we both started crying. We both started hugging. And then she started telling me about her son's accident. And I had seen it all. And I felt her and I felt him. And I don't think I was okay for 3 days after that. So that was probably the biggest impactful thing that I did not set out to do. The other stuff, when I'm on a paranormal investigation, I set out to do that. So I'm not usually caught off guard by things. That caught me the biggest off guard of anything that I've ever experienced.
Hmm.
I've had some really cool things happen on paranormal investigations, but that was an impactful one, especially since I still didn't know where I was or who I was and what was going on, and all of that kind of vomited all this woman's personal information in front of a class of people in a meditation salt room situation. And I remember like leaving her after us hugging, sobbing, and like running to my car and sitting in my car going, I don't even know where to go. I mean, I knew where I lived, but I didn't know where to go. I felt completely lost about everything, but kept fighting, kept trying to find answers.
Nice.
Yeah.
When you see, and I don't, maybe I'm asking this weird.
Okay.
When you're on, say, an investigation, we all know how some of these people have died or whatever. Do you see it from the other person's side? Like if it was a traumatic type death where maybe a murder or something like that. Do you see it from that person's side sometimes, or see
from the
person who committed?
Side?
Yes.
I don't think. Sometimes I see it as if I'm looking at it.
Okay.
So maybe from their perspective,
both.
Yeah, I don't necessarily feel them and their anger and all that stuff while they're doing that, but I'll feel it as an indicator of, let's say it was a stabbing, for instance. I'll usually tell where that happened on the body, but a lot of times I see it as if I'm looking at it.
Okay.
I can see the body, I can see the positioning, but I feel it as if I'm the person getting injured.
Gotcha.
Did that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And the hardest ones that I've ever had to is where I saw him chasing the girl and she was running from him and he got her. He physically assaulted her. He murdered her. He threw her in the water and she drowned.
That would be
Injured
rough.
her to the point that she could, and she wound up drowning. That one was tough.
Yeah. Gosh.
It was very, very, a very old, very old case. It wasn't like it was something that even happened. But yeah,
It doesn't matter though. I mean, it's still people, it doesn't matter when it
absolutely.
was. They
Yeah.
were still people
Yeah.
in,
And she was,
1800, whatever.
yeah. And she was bought and sold. She was property,
Oh,
but
geez.
she was still trying to get away. And so those are tough. Again, it's not I never say something that's not true, but I do sometimes try to not use as aggressive terms as what I'm actually receiving,
Hmm.
because that
That
can
makes
be
sense.
hard, especially if we're in an investigation where we have guests with us.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie about what happened, but I might not
Yeah, you
show the
might not
same
go
kind
into
of,
this traumatic assault in detail, right? Like
yes,
you might do if your team needs to know information on a different type of investigation.
absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that I wrote about was, we went to an investigation. It was just a small group of us, and it was a serial killer. He raped, he tortured multiple young girls. And if I could think of his name, I would give it to you, but I can't. Anyway, he was a cop, pulled them over, acted like he was arresting, took them, tortured, killed, blah, blah, blah. Buried some of them. Anyway, and he claimed to be one of the most intelligent serial killers that there ever was. And he gave me some really detailed information. And came a point where I had to say, you know what? I'm not going to even give you a platform anymore,
Hmm.
because I'm disgusted by you.
Right.
So, but he was the only one talking, and at first I was like, okay, this is why I'm here. I came here to find this out and to see if I could get anything. But it just came to a point, I'm like, yeah, I can't even give you a space anymore.
Not going to talk you up anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I just had to, because he was disgusting. And so, yeah, so there are some times where I have to call it on certain things, because I don't want that energy in me either.
Right.
Well,
It
no,
makes
just
me
because you're
anxious.
on an investigation doesn't mean you have to go to the investigation either. I mean, you're the one getting hammered with this stuff, right? Like you're the one
Yeah.
saying everyone else say, like, hear your description.
We're getting a little bit of internet stuff from you there. Looks
Okay.
like
Yeah. So
not
I'm
as bad
sorry
as
if you
last
asked a
week,
question,
but
I didn't hear it.
I think he was just saying that, it could be overwhelming,
It can
you
be.
know.
I've had what I call paranormal hangovers, where
Right.
I am so drained of energy that I'm like, I'm useless for like 2 days sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had some that were really intense, and you just feel like, just getting through your next day is a struggle.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I feel honored, but sometimes it can take a little bit of a toll,
Sure.
especially
Sure.
when you're dealing with people that are creeps.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine, someone like that. And then they just want to take all your time. And it's like, that's not why I'm here, especially
Right.
for you.
Right.
So, so you have your book.
I
Uh,
do.
what made you decide to write the book?
Um, it it's a good question. I got tired of being, I spent so much time kind of afraid that I afraid of who I was and afraid of being ridiculed and judged and all of that. So I think I just decided, if I was going to be honest and authentically myself, that I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there in any way that I can, because there are probably, for every one person that found the right people, there's probably 100 that haven't.
Mhm.
or maybe more. So if somebody happened upon my book and said, well, you know what? I don't want to be afraid anymore either. I belong. I'm not weird. And that's kind of why. So, and a lot of things kind of pushed me in this direction. My spirit guides, everything was pushing me and pushing me and pushing me until I couldn't resist anymore. And the medical episode, I always say, it had to break me down to almost dying before I was willing to surrender. So, there's easier ways to do it. So if you feel like you need to get there, don't wait till your body completely decides it's going to turn on you until you honor it. And that's kind of where I felt happened to me. It kept coming for me and coming for me. And it took everything that I had to resist and to resist and to resist until it said, you know what? If you won't slow down long enough to listen, we're going to slow you down long enough and force you to listen. And that's kind of what happened to me while I was in a coma for a few days, whatever it was. It was all a blur, And when I came out of that, I was supposed to come out of that, and I didn't. And doctors were saying she should be out of this. She's fine. But I didn't come out of it. And according to the people that were there in the hospital with me, I was having those conversations again like I did when I was younger. I was having those. They were coming for me. They broke me down so that I couldn't resist and said, you know what? Now you're going to listen. And when I actually finally was aware and awake, I knew instantly that everything was different. Instantly. I didn't know how. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it, but I knew that I was never going to be the same again. And not just because near-death experiences can be that way, but because every spirit in the whole world that ever had anything to say to me, they were all talking to me at the same time. I say that it was like I was watching 100 movies all at the same time in fast forward and reverse. And I knew I was supposed to pick up what the message was, but it took me about a solid week or so to really all of a sudden puzzle pieces started coming together, words started flashing, words, I was hearing things telling me what I was supposed to do next and telling me what to do. And I'm like, why am I supposed to do this? I don't know, just do it. So I was, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do this. Either I'm crazy or I'm right. So, and that's kind of how that all happened. And yeah, it sounds weird.
God, that
And I know
sounds
it sounds
overwhelming.
weird. It was overwhelming. And all this was going on while I was legitimately still fighting to be alive.
Right.
I was very sick. And every day I woke up, I said, I'm not going to die today. And that was my only goal every single day while my brain was doing everything else. And then watching TV one night, told me exactly what to do. I said, well, what am I supposed to do when I do that? You'll know. I didn't know, but I knew once I got there. And it was like everything came together and told me what my next move was supposed to be. And, I highlight that in my book. I was actually dating a con artist and I knew everything was wrong and I didn't believe it. And the spirit guides in my gut and all that, ignore, all that kind of stuff. And then they told me exactly where to find the information to prove that I was right and what to do with that information and how to move forward.
So who is the one that you feel gave you that message of it's time to start?
Oh gosh, I don't know the answer to that because it was 1,000 voices. I know it really was. I couldn't even answer that. And and I say my spirit guides and I say that kind of like as this whole collective of everybody who's ever been on my side. And that could be past relatives, that could be people that I've never met before. They just tell me what I'm supposed to do or tell me to stop resisting and trust your gut. And, a couple times, are you stupid? What are you doing? And so, yeah, I jokingly said back then that I feel like my spirit guides were chain smoking Marlboro Reds and shooting tequila because they were like, listen,
what the hell is she doing?
What are you doing? Just listen for a second. And, and I was like, okay. and I didn't. So until I did. And then I felt that really I had no choice. I felt like it was their way or no way. I was either going to completely surrender and allow my life to progress in the way that it probably always should have, or I was probably not ever going to get better.
So do you feel that these medical issues, the coma, were kind of that could have been maybe a test? Okay, she can get through this. She's ready for, this next part.
Um, and just, I did have 2 near-death experiences. The first one happened at 18 months, 18
Okay.
Oh,
months old.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that might have been the first little push there, but I actually think the second one was more that we, maybe like if, that military kind of thing, we're going to break you down so then we can tell you who you need to be.
Yep.
Kind of that. You will not listen. You're continuing on acting like you know what you're supposed to do, which obviously I didn't. So we're going to break you down until we get your undivided attention. And they had my
That's
undivided
where I
attention.
was going with that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really feel like that was just, if you won't shut your mind down long enough to listen to us, we're going to shut it down for you.
Yep. Kind of do that reset. It's
Yeah.
like I kind of look at it, that kind of stuff, like, when you got a kid throwing a temper tantrum, right? And, whether you're a spanker or not, that little slap on the hand or something like that, just to kind of snap them out of it and be like, oh,
Right.
and then, yeah, they're kind of focused again. So,
Yeah. I needed to be snapped out of the path of denial that I was on. Yeah. So I'm glad I did. I mean, not that I'm
absolutely.
happy
Yeah.
about, the medical issues, because unfortunately, that was not
All
a
the
fun
stuff that
time.
comes with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have some lingering health issues because of all of that. But every day I'm grateful, and every day I'm proud of the steps that I take. Far from perfect, but every day I try and be better with my spiritual journey and better with my path, and closer to who I think I'm supposed to be. And they still probably sometimes chain smoke Marlboro Reds and shoot tequila. But
You need to be doing right.
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
that where the book starts, or does it start further back in your
no,
life?
the book actually starts real close to that kind of medical
An
situation.
event. Mhm.
Yeah. And I do, I got to go forward. And in the book, I also kind of recounted some of how I got into the paranormal journey. Like I said, I called John a jerk and all of that. And then some of the experiences that I had, paranormal experiences in investigations at residentials, and then at some really cool locations that I was privileged enough to go to. So it kind of takes it through a journey. And then, and the end of the book, I a lot of questions that people always ask me, or common questions, I kind of answer those. Do you work for the police department? Do you look for lost kids? All those kind of questions that people kind of always seems
Right.
to be a common
Those
theme that,
general questions for me.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So do you do any of that?
I have never worked for the police department. And I say because probably because it's a big responsibility. If they came to me, I would absolutely do my best. Have I ever been able to find a missing person? One time. I've only been asked to do it one time. And did I find him? I knew where he was. I described the surroundings. He was there. Not dead. Just, that was a girlfriend looking for a missing boyfriend thing. And I found him for her. But if they came to me, I would feel terrified. But would I suck it up and put that fear aside and do my absolute best? I would.
Yeah, the
Because
pressure on
it's
someone trying to do that has to be pretty rough.
I can't imagine the stress, because I know for me, going into any investigation, whether it's a location that's known to be haunted or whether it's a residential case, it's on me. Go in,
Right.
work things up, tell us what's going on,
Right.
and it's a lot of pressure. And, we were on a case one time and I was absolutely terrified to tell the team leader that I didn't see anything, that there was nothing going on here. And I had to go outside and I said, I don't know, maybe I'm having an off day, maybe I'm tired, I don't know what's going on, but there's nothing going on here. And he goes, I trust what you say. And he went back to them and there was nothing going on there. They brought us in for entertainment on a Saturday night.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was like, oh my God, I've lost it. It's gone. Never again. But yeah, and
Oh, no.
it was like, I'm walking the house and walking the house, like something, anything, please. But there was nothing there. And I had to go and say, there's nothing here.
See, and there's that validation too, where you're like, wait, there's nothing here, but I
Right.
get all this stuff everywhere else.
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, there's nothing here. Well, now you got that too. Good.
Right.
Yep.
You know, it
Yeah.
works both ways. Like,
It sure
kind of
does.
freaked out because, like, oh, when the same thing we do as investigators, right? We go in somewhere and we think we know, but you never know,
Right. When I
and
go into a known haunted location, the last thing I do, I never ever go in there looking for the person that they say is there.
yeah,
And I can talk to dead people anywhere, any day, anytime. I don't have to be there. Is it cool to be there? Absolutely. But they're not the only people there.
but again, it's only if they want to talk to you too,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. Now, for me, I will always find someone to talk to, whether they have anything to do with that location or not. Somebody will always come and talk to me. And if they don't, well, I'll start doing readings on the people that are there if they're open for it. And I'll start bringing in some of their people. If we're on a situation where we have guests with us, I've had to do that before because it was a particularly slow night and there was a concert close by, couldn't hear anything. Equipment
Mhm.
wasn't really going very well because you couldn't get, everything was, corrupted or whatever the right word is. And
Right.
so it's like, okay, so everybody come here. Anybody want a reading? We're going to do that. And
Nice.
that works too. But yeah, I mean, I don't go in looking for a specific person. When I go to a haunted location, I'm there to talk to anybody who wants to talk to me. And like one of the places that we've investigated the most is Yesteryear Village in West Palm Beach, which is where the Riddle House is. Everybody knows what the Riddle House is. Everybody wants to go to the Riddle House. Least haunted place in there, least haunted building. Everybody wants to go in there and talk to Joseph. I'm like, no, but let's go over here. This is where the cool stuff is. This is not the stuff that you've seen on TV. This is really cool stuff. And that's where I thrive on somebody who isn't notoriously there. We're going to talk to this random guy named Fred, and Fred's going to tell us about his life. And now we're going to put some recordings on this. And now we're going to confirm some of this stuff. That's
Yeah.
the cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't like to go in looking for just the person that everybody says is there. There could be 100 other people hanging out. Let's see what they have to say.
Are there places that you go to that it just seems too overwhelming to be in? Okay, so Gina, my wife, part of
Uh-huh.
our team, is that sensitive, like Bisbee, Arizona. We go into a flea market that's an old bank, and she says it's busy here, but everyone's doing banking transactions. It's more like the
Right.
bank never closed down. So there's no interaction with her, but she feels all this and I'm like, okay. And then we go into another flea market type place and she's like, oh my God, like everyone's running up to me. Like anyone that's with anything here is just running up to me and I got to go outside. I'll take
Right.
your time. I'll meet you outside.
Right.
Do you have places like that? Are flea
So
markets like that for you? I mean, there's so
for
much
me
stuff there, right?
personally, my whole life was like that. And I thought I suffered from severe anxiety. It was very difficult for me to go to restaurants, bars, those kinds of things where there's a lot of energy. And it's not from dead people, it's the living energy too that just would always kind of mess with me. I don't want to know what that guy way over there is feeling. I don't want to know that her husband's cheating on her. I don't want to know this. I just wanted some French fries. So yeah, I was overwhelmed a lot. And I thought I really had severe anxiety. And I almost kind of got this point where I was becoming more and more reclusive because I didn't want to subject myself to that overwhelming energy.
Mhm.
Then I learned that I don't have to do that. So for me, I'm on a low level availability on an everyday basis. That's it. When I'm on an investigation or when I'm with clients in my business, we'll turn that knob up because
Yeah.
that's when I have to allow it in.
Mhm.
And in my book, I talked about, and I just recently moved, but the house that I moved out of in February, my house was haunted. They were all welcome there. Come on in. Unless you had an attitude, then I asked you to leave. But I had a wind chime system. I had 3 wind chimes that hung next to each other. And the agreement was that you're not to bother me unless you need something. And if you just want to say hi, I had a real light wind chime. Just go ahead and tinkle on that. I'll acknowledge you're there. If you have something to say, you can say it.
Nice.
Then I had a medium weight wind chime. If you really need to talk to me, go ahead and make that one move. If it was an emergency, I had a real heavy one. Knock that sucker. And of course, I kept them. There was no fans by them, no air condition hit them, none of that. And we had a deal. Until we made that deal, they'd keep me up all night. 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, all the voices, everything, everybody's talking. And it just got to be stop. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
So I kind of
can
developed that
imagine.
system and it worked for decades in that house. And when chimes would tinkle, I'd stop whatever I was doing and say, what do you want to talk about? And sometimes they say, just say hi. It's like, okay, hi. And we move
Hi.
about our business. Never was that real heavy wind chime. Never did that one go off. The middle one went off, but never the heavy one.
So were all the spirits in your house, are they aware of each other?
Sometimes I would see them at the same time, but I don't think so. I think that they just kind of moved around in their own little energy field. I don't think that they really, every once in a while, I'd get what seemed like everybody was showing up at the same time, like there was a party and nobody told me. But for the most time, I saw them each at very isolated times. Might see
Interesting.
more than one a day, but like my grandfather was one that he was the one that was always welcome there and he could come anytime. And he did. He's probably the most often person that I've seen. And he would just watch me do stuff. Again, old house, for Florida, old house, over 100, 100 years old ish. That's old for Florida. And I know that sounds silly from where you guys are from, but that's old for Florida.
Oh no.
No, that's
And it
about where we're
required,
at
We
here
don't.
too.
okay,
Yeah.
it
You
required
know.
a lot of maintenance. And a lot of
We,
that was my job to do. And I'm in the bathroom one time and I am just chiseling this 400 pounds of caulk off my bathtub. And he's laughing at me. And he's watching me, and he's laughing. I'm like, stop laughing. This isn't funny. I'm over here, I'm busting out in a sweat here. And finally, I looked at him and I said, if you're not going to help, then stop making fun of me. And he still made fun of me. And he didn't help. Not at one time did he help, other than I think that he told me a better way to do it.
here's a
So I thought,
paintbrush.
yeah, I need a break
Find something to
and then I'll
do.
come back. And we worked through it. And I said, of course, you're always welcome to stay, even if you are making fun of me. So, but he was the one that was around probably the most often. And probably because there was always something to do in this house. And that's what he did. So it was right in his wheelhouse to let me know that I was in the wrong direction.
Yeah. No, you
Yeah.
got to do it this way. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, well, why don't you just do it while I'm sleeping? He never did.
You mentioned residentials and, the cool places.
Right.
Coolest place. What's the coolest place that you feel you've been?
Okay. I would have, until a couple weeks ago, I would have said the coolest place that I've ever been was Waverly, because I had some of the coolest experiences there. But a couple weeks ago, it might have been a month or so now, I lose track of time. I was down at the old Davie Schoolhouse, which is in Davie, Florida, close, Miami area. And on the property, there's the old Davie Schoolhouse, and then there's 2 other houses. And the one house that I was in is called the Wells House, or something like that. And I went into, wherever I decide to go is kind of where I go. I just, I feel and go. And we went and sat in one of the rooms, and there was a lot of things kind of going on that night. Nothing substantial, but still really cool. Like, we had a lot of smells of flowers and, things like that. And that's always cool. And, a couple things that we picked up on the spirit box. But, I was sitting there on the bed. I was with other investigator. I'm sitting there on the bed, and there's like a dresser vanity thing with a mirror on it, and I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of touching the stuff, and because I'm nosy and touch stuff, I'm opening up the drawers, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, oh, my grandmother used to have that kind of stuff. So I'm sitting there, and we're running a spirit box session, and we're just kind of talking, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking in the mirror, and at some point, I don't remember when, but I realized that I was no longer really like looking at myself in the mirror. I was looking deeper than myself in the mirror.
Mhm.
And right, you get what I'm saying, right? Because it always sounds weird. Listen deeper. Um, and all of a sudden, my face wasn't mine anymore. And this face just came right over me. And I thought, that's cool. What am I going to do with this? Because there's another investigator with me, but I don't want to tell her anything. So I'm like, this is really cool. So I kind of look around, seeing if there's anything that could be casting some kind of weird shadow, but no, I can see some pretty detailed features. So I got up. I said to the other girl that was with me, I said, come sit right here. She said, okay. So she sits down. I said, I want you to look in the mirror, like right in this region right here. And I said, this is going to sound weird, but there's a window behind you. Ignore the window that's behind you and just kind of look at the mirror and just look at yourself. She said, okay. So she's sitting there, and I feel it coming. I know when it's about to happen. I feel it. I'm so excited that she's going to see this. And next thing I know, she goes, that's not my face. And I'm like, I know, right? Isn't that so cool? And she's like, and then all of a sudden it got really creepy really fast. And I always tell people, I have never, ever, ever, I'm there looking for ghosts. Why am I going to run when I see one, right?
Right? Yeah.
I have walked swiftly. And I did walk swiftly from this location. And so down the stairs we go. And, I'm always careful with stairs because I always know that they're going to push me because it's happened once. So I'm always kind of careful, quick and careful. And then we stood out in the parking lot, and we were looking up at the house that we just left. And we're looking at the window of the room that we were just in. And you can see movement through that window. And we sat there just standing in the parking lot probably for 20, 30 minutes. And we know we're going back in, but we just had to decompress for a moment.
Yep.
So then I thought, let's go get somebody else. So went to one of the other buildings, and I quietly pulled aside another investigator. And I said, hey, I just want you to come check something out. We got some really cool stuff going on. Bring your recorder, blah, 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 whatever. So I sit him down, and same thing. Don't pay attention to the window behind you. Just look right at your face. And I felt it. I knew when it was going to happen, and it happened. And he, I think, said a few cuss words, and, hey, that's not my face. And so we sat there for a minute, and then, smell of like rotten fish came over, and he smelled and moved through the room, and it hovered in this corner for a while. And then kind of wafted back through. And, so I think there were that night, I can't remember if there were 6 or 7 investigators there. So I thought, well, we're 3 so far. I'm going to pull each person in here independently and see if this same thing happens.
Heck yeah.
And I did. And I believe it was 5 out of the 7 saw the exact same image, because we all met afterward. Don't say anything to anybody else. Don't say anything. Let's keep moving. And then afterward, everybody told me what they saw. So I was like the only one that knew. And then after we all kind of talked about it, and I think 5 people saw the exact same image. 2 people saw that image with more detail. And one person didn't see it, or maybe there was 8 of us or 4, whatever. One person didn't see it at all. And I'm like, yeah, well, it doesn't get any better than that. And that was my first real experience with something that I'm looking right at myself. And then all of a sudden I'm not myself.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with that. So that was kind of cool. We super saged and at the end of the night, and we're good. Yeah.
Well, getting all that confirmation too, that's got to be such a good feeling, right?
I love that. I love that, because it's cool when I experience something. And I always say, I believe it or not, I am kind of cynical or skeptical. I'm not going to take everything everybody says on their word. I've never seen that. I want to see it. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying I want to see it too.
Yep.
So when you get to share that kind of experience with so many people, number one, you go, okay, I didn't just hallucinate something. Number two, that was really cool. And I got to share it with people that I really like and that I think are really cool. And they got to have a really cool experience too. So I've heard of those things happening before, but never experiencing it. You can go, oh, that's cool. But you can't go, oh my God, that was cool. Yep. And there's a difference between those 2 statements.
There really is. Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I love, that was a pretty cool thing to happen. Yeah. So that's kind of the coolest thing that I think I've seen.
Nice.
Yeah. And all the confirmation was kind of a bonus too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so many people seeing it. That's way
right.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And only one person didn't see it. And to be honest with you, I think that she was a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have maybe talked to her for a little while to get her to relax a little bit, but she's kind of new to investigating too. So, I think she was probably just a little nervous.
Yeah.
See, and I see that as totally something we would do too. Aaron, come look in this mirror, dude. See if you
right.
check this out.
Right. Just come sit here. Just sit, relax.
Yeah. And she's telling this story with the mirror. I remember this past weekend, we actually got the word mirror and we went over to that room and we didn't do anything. So maybe this weekend that might be something we go down and check out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said,
do it.
Yeah. Look deep.
Right.
Okay.
You listen deep, look deep, because it's cool if you get to see it. It's really cool.
Yeah. And anything, like just anything would be, So
absolutely.
Angie, where can people find your book?
Amazon.
Okay.
Yep, it's available on Amazon. There's a link on my socials. There's a link on my socials. Book looks like this without the Post-its on it. Looks like that. And in my socials, we'll have a link on it, link in my bio. I have a TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, all of that good stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Angie, thanks again for coming on tonight. It's been great talking to you. And
well, thank you. It's been great.
Yeah, such a really cool. Yeah, such a cool story. Quite a journey you've been on.
Thank you. Yeah, anytime.
One more question though.
Sure.
So you see these things in person.
Uh-huh.
Do you see them like a connection like this when you're talking to people? Like, do you see things going or people like hanging out with people like us, like behind us?
When I'm open and I'm doing readings for clients or on an investigation, yes, I will oftentimes see people behind them. And I always say when I open myself up, some people will get 1 or 2 people that want to talk to them. Other people get coliseums. I mean, they're just filled up with people. But when I'm doing a reading, sometimes I will see them here for me. and I'll know what they look like. Other times I'll see them behind the person that I'm talking with.
Nice. And then
Yeah.
you do readings as well? People can
I
schedule
do.
stuff like that? Okay.
I do. I have my own business in Jupiter. I have an office in Jupiter where I do tarot, intuitive readings, psychic readings, and I also do a lot with emotional trauma healing. 'Cause
Nice.
who doesn't have that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got
Yep.
one last question for you, Angie.
Sure.
And it's one I've been meaning to ask previous guests, and I never, we never get to it. But
Okay.
you have a business doing this. What are some things that people can look for when seeking someone like you out? To do some readings to help with their life, or
The first thing that I would say, it's easier to eliminate people. If someone offers you a quick fix, if someone says for $1,200 I can make everything in your life better, if somebody says they have the answer to everything, if someone tells you that they have never had a time where they couldn't talk to someone that you loved, they're lying. That is not true. I consider myself to be very successful with my clients, but sometimes they come in and they want to talk to Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob doesn't want to have anything to
Bob's
say.
not
We
here?
might get
Yeah.
Larry, but we didn't get Bob.
Right.
So if someone tells you that they can fix everything, that they can remove a curse for all this money and sell me this or Venmo me all this money and I'll take away all your problems, back away, and not even slowly, back away quickly, because that's not what we do. We charge for our time, not for our talent. We charge for
Right.
our time, and it's okay to do that, but it's not okay to take somebody's money when you're not doing anything for them.
You're not providing
Our
a true
job,
service.
yeah, truth, honesty, and we're all on our own journey. My goal is to guide you to what you already know is real.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer. I like
Thank
that.
you. Yeah. Stay away
We're
from
gonna.
charlatans.
I'm sorry.
I said, stay away from charlatans who promise you everything in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that want the money over and over and over again.
Listen, I've seen some of my clients have come in with invoices for PayPal requests for $1,200-$1,400, saying, here, buy this product and, I'll make you a special candle and that curse is going to be gone. Not the way that works. Not the way that works.
Yep.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and I'm so leery of stuff. Like I'll see, like there's some sites and they're like, oh, here's some holy water that was, blessed at the Vatican or
Oh, he froze.
We lost him.
Yeah, we did.
He'll be back.
Yeah. I have
really
holy water that came from the Vatican when my friends were over there. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Angie, thanks for coming on tonight. We're going to put you into the green room. We'll catch up with you as soon as we close the show again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Great show. She was really cool.
She was.
Yeah.
And that's a question I've always been meaning to ask. And, it's just one I, kind of don't get down the list to ask. And she seems like such a genuine person. I figured that was the right person to ask about that. So,
yeah. I couldn't imagine going somewhere and just being overwhelmed.
Just bombarded.
It'd be super crazy.
Well, yeah. And then you have that feeling of responsibility, right? To get these, messages or help everybody that you can. But at the same time, you've got to draw, some boundaries or you sacrifice everything, right?
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, crazy. I think I'm going to hit her up for a reading. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Everyone, thanks for watching tonight. Watch the WoW page this weekend. We're going to do some lives with all these people and teams and stuff that we have coming up. And then next week, you know who we have next week?
Oh, you're excited for this one.
I am so excited.
Same here.
Mark Nesbitt.
Yep.
Haunted Gettysburg books. He's written all those. Gettysburg ghost tours. We got to meet him when we were out there.
Super
And
nice guy. Very humble, very approachable.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have a cool, we'll talk about it next week, but we kind of have a cool little story about some correlating stuff in the area that, I'm excited to talk to him about.
There was one thing that she said that you can now use: walk briskly. You didn't run. You walked briskly out of the woods as you froze again. Everyone, thanks for watching tonight.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Unraveling the Darkness would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research and Twinkle Twinkle Little Store for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal and Unraveling the Darkness. You can catch all of our episodes of Unraveling the Darkness on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it might just be closer than you think.